What up everyone? Yup, it's me again. You might know these videos called Draw My Life. All the popular YouTubers are doing it. It gives a really inspirational message. Well, this video is pretty much none of those things. Might as well be called Attempt to Draw My Life because this is probably the closest you'll ever see me draw things from a video. But without further ado, let's begin. My name is Patrick Yu. I also have a Chinese name, which I wrote here. Actually, I'm named after Australia because, well, I was born there. Shortly after though, my family, which is my mom, dad, and my older sister, we all moved to the US. When I was super duper young, it took me a pretty long time to learn how to speak. Like, I was almost 4 years old when I finally learned how to. Up until then, the only thing I really knew how to say was Buchi, which doesn't really mean anything. My parents were worried that I was going to develop like some sort of speech impediment, but when I finally learned how to speak, they hoped that I was going to be some super duper smart scientist like Einstein, since he apparently didn't learn how to speak until he was almost 4. Well, yeah, sorry mom and dad, I don't think I'll ever be as smart as Einstein. When I finally learned how to speak, I couldn't stop. I was just this super happy, bouncy kid who just couldn't stop talking. I never felt particularly talented at any one thing, but as long as I could remember, I've always loved to talk. I don't really remember much from elementary school other than this really bad rash I had on my face. Not a lot of people would approach me, and I didn't really blame them. I also wasn't particularly the best or brightest student, which definitely showed when we took placement tests at the end of 4th grade to determine what academic level we started at in middle school. At this point, you can probably guess that I scored in the lowest level. Being in the lowest level kinda sucked because the rest of my friends all went to the gifted and talented level. This is also the time a lot of you can probably relate to. No, it's not puberty, although that happened too. It's being bullied. You see, I wasn't exactly the epitome of what cool was back then, and I was made fun of for being nerdy. There's one girl who was particularly nasty, and I just couldn't figure out why she went out of her way so many times to do such mean things. At the time, I also had this huge crush on this other girl, and we would talk on the phone for hours after school ended. But eventually I cut ties with her because she wasn't cool enough. Yep, you heard me right. I wanted to be part of the cool kids. So I started dressing different, acting different, and after a while I finally felt accepted for being cool. But the main problem was that I was accepted as someone who really wasn't me, and deep inside I felt terrible for lying to myself because I knew that I had let others define me rather than letting myself define me. I tried to get out of the toxic environment I had put myself into by studying hard to catch up to my actual friends. By the end of middle school, I excelled in my studies, embraced my nerdiness, and rejoined my friends. Just when I began to feel comfortable again with my life, I found out that I was going to move schools. At this point, I felt alone, distanced from my friends since they were successful and didn't have to start over again. And I buried into my studies even more. I became sad, contemplating not so fun thoughts. But when I was alone, I found this website called YouTube. And it was the best discovery I'd ever made. The first ever YouTuber I remember watching was this guy called Slim Kirby, who does game walkthroughs called Let's Plays. I remember spending countless hours during weekends watching the world he created through his videos. It didn't take long before I discovered this YouTube series called Fun Employed. After watching it, I thought it would be so cool to do YouTube as a career. So yeah, I ended up moving schools and was super anxious because I didn't know anyone. And this sucked even more because we had to pick roommates. I remember sitting alone during an orientation talk at my new school, and all of a sudden, this curly-haired guy sits next to me looking for a roommate, and I was like, yes, I accept! And to this day, he and I are still really good friends. Through this friendship, I was able to make more friends, and for the first time in my life, I didn't have to act like someone else to feel like I actually belonged. I could finally be myself without feeling judged or made fun of. Yay! I thought things couldn't get any better when I found out I was accepted to Caltech for college. I was overjoyed because I felt like everything I worked for in high school paid off. I naively thought that the only direction I could go was up, and that there was nothing holding me back from pursuing my dreams. That sensation didn't last long. Before I knew it, I was struggling, and I questioned whether I was actually passionate about science. Thoughts like maybe the only reason I did science was because I felt like I was good at it, or maybe I'm not qualified to pursue higher levels of science pervaded in my mind. I felt stuck, lost confidence in my ability to think independently, and didn't feel like I was good at anything. The most depressing thing was that I didn't know what I was passionate about anymore. For a while, the only thing I looked forward to was sleep because, at least in my dreams, I could be anything I wanted rather than feeling incompetent from the work I had to do during the day. Not wanting to tell my friends and family my problems because I didn't want them to worry about me, I constantly went to YouTube to keep myself entertained and energized. The more YouTube I watched, the more I wished I could make my own videos. It wasn't until after I created my first channel, What of the Sure, discontinued it, studied abroad, and went through years of self-doubt before I finally pulled the trigger and decided to reboot my channel and upload regularly. Through YouTube, I feel like I've discovered a huge part of myself. I've always enjoyed the feeling of entertaining people, but I never really thought I was good enough. I definitely don't feel like I was born to entertain, but I chose to do it because it really does make me happy. You can't choose the circumstances of how you were raised, but you can choose what to do with it in order to be the best person you can be. For the longest time, I thought I was passionate about the sciences because I felt I was really good at it. But it took me so long to realize that you shouldn't do something just because you think you're good at it. Do something because you want to do it. Life is a choice. Ultimately, it's up to you and not others to define what you want to do with it. So if you want to pursue your dreams, whether they be to travel the world, become a competitive eater, or pole dance for the rest of your life, don't wait for the perfect moment to start pursuing them. Start pursuing it now. Every journey begins with a step, and regardless of how small that step may be, it's still a step. Don't let anyone, especially your own internal struggles, deter you from following your dreams. As a famous quote says, just do it. If you made it through this entire video, thanks for watching. And don't forget to stay awesome, everyone. And you thought I was going to say subscribe. Well, you can feel free to do that too if you want. Alright, peace out guys. Thanks for watching my 100 subscriber special.